Hello, once I can't keep. That's Tabusky's thing. Um, I'm literally watching my gameplay on my video player and just capturing my video player instead of using video editing software because that's where we're at. That's what we're doing right now. Really low effort, kind of like garbage content. I'm reacting to me, I guess. How's your day been? I'm posting my Stormgate video right now. My first impressions, but kind of like my fourth impressions or fifth because I kept losing, and I don't like to post my losses unless they're cool losses or informative losses. But because it's a new game, why would it be informative aside from just showing this is how you lose? I don't I don't know. How's your day going? My mic quality's still god awful. Razer Black Shark. Don't get it for mic quality, that's for sure, but sound quality's good. And that's all I've been caring about because I'm a fake YouTuber right now because I don't have YouTube videos constantly posting. But then again, neither does Frankie on PC in 1080p, and I still love him. So I'm just taking that approach, I guess. Um, yeah, sure. So what have I been doing lately? I'm working on my thesis project. I'm graduating in the spring if I'm lucky. I'm applying to sciencey jobs like ecologist jobs, game bird supervisor jobs, environmental conservation, natural resources jobs, um, wildlife plant, not plant, no, not wildlife, plant technician jobs on on national parks where you'd like survey the plants and stuff. That's pretty exciting. Hopefully I graduate so that I can get those jobs when I graduate, if I do. Um, just finished data processing slash collection. So on to data analysis using statistics and SNAS to make findings. That I've got to write the thesis. I probably should be writing it right now. I kind of am. I've like jotted down some methods and I'm plotting out the outline of my intro. It's hard to keep track of it all because my data collection and processing extended way past the point I wanted it to, but I think that's part of these things. I'm kind of trying to come to terms with the fact that the scientific field is full of last minute freaking out and getting stuff done. Or at least that's how it seems. Like, you've got to wonder these fancy scientific papers, how much panic was there before they were released? It's cool doing data research, science stuff. Like, it's crazy that people make these studies out of thin air. I mean, I'm sure that in a lot of the real world it's less out of thin air than it is following on previous trains of thoughts and stuff. But, you know, it's very creative in a sense. You gotta, like, the data I'm pulling is, like, the whole study, you know? Just, I mean, I definitely had a whole bunch of help from my advisor, but, like, I mean, you know, the original concept, the seed of the data was just, like, urban habitats and conservation. What I'm doing, I'll just give you the rundown. I'm comparing pollinator interactions with native versus exotic plants on my campus, on my university's campus. And so I put a bunch of pairs of pots of plants that are supposed to be pollinator friendly, at least the native ones are supposed to be. And so I have a pot of the native pollinator friendly plants, and then a pot of their ornamental hybrid or cultivar counterparts, which you can find often at retail locations, whereas native plants are a lot harder to find, like a straight species from the wild, untouched by human cultivation. It's kind of like a wolf versus like a corgi. A corgi's still the same species, but it's been selectively bred to be adorable and not so mean. And so these cultivated plants are like that but the cultivated plants are the straight species. The hybrids are if you're like blending, I guess, like corgis with Dalmatians, or no, like wolves with hyenas. But like further, yeah, kind of like that, I guess. But like, yeah, sure. And so I took pots of the native plants and then their ornamental counterparts, and I had 5 species of natives, and so I had 5 species of the natives in one pot, and then their related ornamental counterparts in the other pot. And I put the pots 1 meter apart, and I had 12 locations like that. And I recorded the pollinators that visited, and I just left it out over the summer and just kept watching and recording who came. And I've taken some morphological, physiological measurements on the plants too, because get all the data you can, you know? I feel like that's I don't know if that's a new thing or an old thing or what, but I've definitely been noticing that in a lot of scientific studies I've looked at, they have a whole bunch of experiments going on at the same time in one experiment. Like, I measured surface area of the flowers, how many flowers were there at the plant at the time and stuff like that, to give you a grasp of the plants themselves, as well as the ecological role they play, because I already have the plants and I'm growing them and putting them in the field. Why not measure them too? Like the plants themselves. And then I spent time observing the pollinators that came, and then I spent other times capturing the bees that came. Turns out the main bees that came are really just sweat bees, and then these like small carpenter bees, which are actually related to honeybees, not bumblebees or carpenter bees. And yeah. Then I took pollen from the pollen baskets and legs of the bees I captured, and I analyzed how much of that pollen was from the genera, the plural genus, we're Homo sapiens. Homo is our genus, sapiens is our like specific species. And I got the proportions of like the genera of pollen I found, because I couldn't take the species because I'm not good enough at identifying my pollen, I guess. Aside from one genus that I have where the ornamental pollen was an order of magnitude larger than the natives. And that gave me like the proportions of pollen from inside the study system versus outside in a way. And yeah, and I tried to record the nectar that the flowers made, but I was having trouble with that. But I did record like the amount of pollen made from the flowers, so that's cool. And I ended up finding that on some of the pairings there was a difference, like more pollinators came to the natives versus the exotics being the ornamentals. And then on some there wasn't a difference, and then pollen, it was kind of similar, where some made more pollen, some made less. And it all fits in this big ecological question of are these ornamental plants that we're planting around our campuses and houses as helpful and attractive to the bees and pollinators as the natives? And so far my preliminary results have come to it depends, which is quite the finding. It's better than it doesn't depend. There's like no difference, so that's cool. I mean, on some of them there's no difference, and that's interesting in and of itself. Also, pollen quality. The hybrids and ornamentals seem to make more deformed pollen, which is kind of already known, but if we get into that, it's really cool to plant natives still, because less on the pollinator side, more on the seed dispersal side. Things could come and eat the seeds of the plants you made and then poop them out. I'm not sure exactly how much that works for the plants I have in my system or not. I should look into that. But if you have things coming and spreading the seeds from the natives you planted, then that's spreading more native plants around your local ecosystem, and that's pretty cool. As for the pollinator community, it's nice to make native plants, or at least the theory is that the native ones are good because it gives them the resources that they grew up around in evolutionary history. And is they eat the pollen and they eat the nectar. Nectar seems to be equally accessible between what kind of plant you have, but there's also an aspect of pollen nutritional quality that could vary between the natives and the ornamentals. That's too fancy of data collection for me to do with like chemical analysis. I've already got enough on my plate, but that'd be interesting to look into. Definitely though, there is a difference between native and exotics for insects that eat plants, and native insects eat the native plants because over the evolutionary history of herbivorous, I guess you could call, insects and the plants they grew up around, plants create all these various chemicals in them. They're like giant chemical factories, and they create all these defensive compounds. That's why you have things like nicotine and tobacco. They even like THC and shit. They're all like chemical defenses against predation. And insects have evolved along these to have their own specific plants that they eat that they can overcome these chemical defenses through their own evolutionary adaptations. Whereas plants from outside of their evolutionary geographic range, they're often not able to eat. So that'd be really interesting to see how that lies in the whole native versus exotic ornamental pairing, but that's why I went into pollinators to see if it kind of happened with them too, because there's like a lot of pollinator decline getting noticed around the world, and that's bad because like a third of the volume of food that humans create benefits from pollinators, especially things like fruits and I think some vegetables.
What exactly is this crystal?
I think grains are usually like wind pollinated.
In a sea of questions. Another question
And so yeah, that's like the whole spiel. It's pretty interesting because
is the crystal benign in nature, or does it hold a more sinister
could I just
purpose?
skip ahead? She's
Magic?
distracting. But yeah. I lost my train of thought. The AI Warcraft voice was messing me up. This was messing with my keybinds. I'm actually playing World of Warcraft Classic on my PS4 controller. It's pretty cool that you can do that because this game's very grindy. I never played WoW in the past. The whole grindy thing's kind of tedious. But if I'm on a controller, I can sit back and it's more of a video game than a fucking chore. I got my bear. It's a cool bear. Yeah. So now I've got to like do a bunch of stats and write a thesis before the end of the semester by like April. So I got like 2 months. It's kind of, I don't know where I'm gonna find all this time, but I'm doing it week by week. For better or worse, I'm trying, trying my best to get all the work done in the amount of time and energy that I have. I've been lifting lately. That's been really cool. It's cool to actually like be building up weight through muscle mass and a little bit of fat because one comes with the other. But increasing my strength is pretty cool. That's kind of like a World of Warcrafty thing. I'm upgrading my stats. Here I was trying to figure out why my bear sad. It died a lot, which definitely would make a bear sad, but he wasn't eating any of the food I was trying to give him. I don't know if I was just giving him his food wrong or not. It sucks when your bear has had enough of you and just leaves you. Stormgate's interesting. Played a couple games of that, as I mentioned earlier, and the video should be out. And it's kind of slower than StarCraft, which is really great for me because my StarCraft is very taxing, and it's very micro intensive. But like you're like going at full speed trying to do your base building and your micro at the same time, whereas Stormgate seems to be a little bit simpler. I could be wrong on that because I'm still learning the ins and outs of it, but it seems to be like a slower pace for sure. Like in StarCraft, you make one wrong move and your whole entire army dies on you within like the blink of an eye, and that's stressful and sucks. Whereas in Warcraft, you have some room to micro because the fights seem to take longer, which I like because I'm not great at video games anymore. I'm busy. I can't play StarCraft every day. I'm sorry. I might get back into it when I have more free time.
Feel free to browse.
I know a lot of you probably subscribe for my StarCraft educational commentaries, but you know, maybe we can do this variety gamer thing and we'll still be friends. But if you're just here to learn from me, just stay tuned because more might come. I've been playing a lot of Tarkov lately. Haven't been recording video for that because I'm not great at that game, and so a lot of the content would just be me running around dying, which is kind of fun, but it's exhausting to just keep recording just for like the rare couple minutes that anything actually happens, and then half the time I'll die, so I'll have to delete it anyways. With these new jobs, I'm really excited that I'll be making money soon, hopefully. And hopefully that means I can afford things like a Nintendo Switch and a better mic for my YouTubing. I definitely want to keep YouTubing. It's really hard to fit it in my schedule, but I've been making incremental steps. Like in my last video that I made, well, second to last or third to last, I don't know. I've set up my video making software. It's all about getting the settings right and your workflow right. And I keep making these small adjustments so that it's easy for me to just start up the softwares, record, and then move on. This video's quality might be absolute dog shit though, because I'm still just too exhausted and tired and lazy to try and level out the audio of the game versus Spotify versus my mic that's poopy. We'll see how it works out. That's the biggest update. That's really been my life, is school, lifting, and school, and video games, but not recording. And yeah, that's really just been my life. It's been great. Oh, and disc golfing, but not a whole lot of that. But disc golfing's fucking awesome. I'd hopefully going today if my pally, old buddy, old roommate, old friend is up for it after work. It's like really awesome. I haven't been doing a lot of it because it's winter and because, you know, it's cold out. And also I've been busy. But it's like a great way to get outside, yaw some frisbees. And it's cool. There's like apps to track your rounds and your courses and stuff to compare average bid. Wes, I'm sorry about my lack of making my Pokemon content. Hopefully I can get back on top of that a little bit more. Might be more like this. The whole like sitting down to live record like I did for my last Stormgate video is kind of tough because usually when I'm playing video games, I have friends on Discord and I want to talk to them while I play video games. I don't want to sit by myself and talk to myself while playing Pokemon. But if I do like a commentary style thing, then that means that I can just voice over it later. And so maybe I'll make it more like just talking about bullshit while it plays in the background because everyone's already knows the games in and out. So a live feed is less important. You don't really need to know my whole entire philosophy. Oh, video's over. Okay, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Love you. Subscribe. Bye.